controls the spice, controls the universe.
Yeah, it's rich in bubbly goodness.
Do you remember when you lost your passion for this work?
I invited another friend. I hope that's okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Reina Creole, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis. And welcome to the After School Special, where we get together with folks in the fandom who they can't make it during the lunch table show. So you know what? We meet up with them after school to hang out and have a good time. So speaking of hanging out, how you doing, Fat Steven?
Busy. This is the second interview today.
I know.
I've actually had to pop open a Red Bull. Busy. Busy. That's the key. That's like the special word of the day. Busy. I'm good though. We had Valiant earlier on, and now we're doing a lovely lady that I'm going to be dead honest, I know nothing about. So I'm going to be sitting there pretty much with open ears and trying to be somewhat funny. So. Yeah, how are you? I just saw you a couple hours ago, but how are you?
Yes, you did. No, besides getting my cats their snacks, because I got the one cat, Tabby, Professor X, looking at me like, "Where's my snack?"
Yeah.
So give me food. Okay, fine.
And you know, as soon as you give the food, you turn your head, the middle paw's coming up just a little, going, could have been quicker.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's cool.
But other than that, things are good. It's pollen outside, but my allergies aren't too bad. Unfortunately, I do have to go out a little later on. So in that case, I'm actually going to be grateful to have a mask on to filter the pollen away from me.
That actually is a good thing. At least it has a bonus. Yeah, our guest is someone, like I said, I know nothing about. I've seen her talk from time to time with, I think, the Game of Thrones readings, I believe. Other than that, I'm like the three blind mice right now, so I'm not going to pretend I know anything right now.
Well, I know I've seen her talk with OG and Steve Kenobi about the Star Wars EU novels. For those folks who don't know what they are, they kind of look like this. I have this one here, and I have Tatooine's Ghost in my purse. So I kind of make sure I have a EU novel with me. And she's always been an amazing supporter, showing up in my live stream. So folks, please welcome Teresa, aka Ms. Martin Muses. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be here.
Oh, so glad to have you here. Like a whole lot of other people, I'm like, okay, I've been meaning to have you on. I'm not overlooking you on purpose. It's just our bookings are nuts. Like literally, we are booked out. What I think is the May schedule like almost.
I believe it is done, except for the Sundays we keep open in case we have to reschedule. Yes,
yeah,
we're filled up. Yes.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have, but sometimes an annoying problem to have when it's like, oh, I need to get so and so, on the show. And we even started doing Tuesdays at 5 p.m. a live show as another one to kind of open up the schedule a little bit. That's filling up. That's filling up. But I'm so glad to have you on, my dear. I know I first ran into you when hearing about Game of Thrones, when I had just started watching the HBO show before For season 8, freaking happened.
Yeah.
Never watched it. Never watched season 8.
Destroyed everything.
I wasn't even a Game of Thrones
Yeah.
person. I'd heard about it, but I started watching Vikings instead. So I didn't really get into Game of, and I wasn't going to get HBO to specifically watch Game of Thrones. So I'm like, I got the History Channel. I'll sit here and I'll just watch Vikings instead.
I did have one question though, because this is what you're known for, Miss. Can I just call you Martin, or do you prefer Miss?
You
Martin?
can call me just call me Teresa.
Okay, Teresa. Well, nice to meet you first of all on this interview. But you're mostly known for the red rose and the red rose in general. So why did you pick that?
Interesting question, because you're the first person I think that's truly asked me that. The reason for the red rose is it is connected with one of my patron saints, whose name was Teresa of Lisieux. She was a Carmelite nun from France who died in 97. And she had something called the Little Way, where she was determined to do little acts of kindness, great acts in a little manner. And when she passed away, she said that she was going to send down a shower of roses as a symbol of love, and a symbol of love for her love for Jesus. She was a nun, but also a love for everyone, because she wanted the whole world to be love. And so that is her symbol. Whenever you see her, she will be holding a bunch of roses. So that's what that's all about. And it can mean whatever you wish to somebody, but that was my symbol, because when I decided to come online way back in the late 90s and kind of took her name, Thérèse Martin was her maiden name before she became a nun, I decided I was going to be that kind of a person online. I was maybe going to do great things, perhaps, but always do it with great love, and also focus on the little things. And when you're focused on the little things, you will find that the great things follow.
It takes baby steps to get to the largest target, pretty much. So that's pretty awesome.
That's wonderful. It's something that I didn't know about you. Although I just looked at the rose and I'm like, I just think it's gorgeous.
That's how I always know when she's in the chat, because I usually see it. So that there's an actual symbolic meaning to not only you as a personal level, but as a way of driving yourself online to be that type of person.
Yes, and this was actually a commission that was done for me by someone that I'd done a favor for, and so he did a favor back, because there is some significance about it being juxtaposed with the black and also with the falling little petals, because thorns also always have a rose, but without the thorns, the pain of life or sorrow or sacrifice, you can't get to something beautiful. And so so I have the light and the dark, but not in the sense of light side, dark side, like Star Wars. It's that it's all who we are, and that's how you make a masterpiece.
That's awesome. And to be honest, you can laugh at me now. I'm so happy I didn't make a Beauty and the Beast reference.
Actually, a lot of people think it is, because I'm a huge Beauty and the Beast fan. I'm a huge Beauty and the Beast fan. Yes.
Just looking at how the rose is, I can see that completely.
Yeah. See, for me, is if I don't know something, I try my best to try to ask. So I live by the standard: if you don't know, the stupidest question is the one not asked.
Yes.
So that's why now it's going to be even more special when you super chat roses, because you always have a rose when you super chat that, and I think that's wonderful, and that's a wonderful axiom to go by, especially interacting online, because some people tend to forget, actually a lot of people tend to forget, that there are flesh and blood human beings
behind the avatar.
And even without an avatar, just the digital representation of live person, which is kind of like what this is, that's actually somebody who has faults, somebody who might misinterpret what you say, and there needs to be that extra measure of
clarity,
of kindness. Yeah, clarity and kindness. kind of take it from the standpoint that sometimes people aren't being jerks on purpose. Sometimes they just are not understanding, what it is that you're saying. Giving someone the benefit of the doubt when certain misunderstandings come up, not really judging people based on what they type or what they tweet or what they put on Facebook. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful approach.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to think of that every time I see Rose now.
Every time I'm going to put now the prayer emoji and then a rose and then the prayer emoji and then a rose every time I greet you now. I'm going to
well, we're going to kick things off with our we try to start with the baseline question, but there's too many interesting things that pop off. But yeah, so what are your memories of lunchtime at school?
Wow. Well, they're very weird and interesting because my childhood, a great deal of it was spent in Ireland, and it was very different over there. The elementary experience over there, it was a very tiny little school. There was about 5 kids in my grade. So we had like 2nd grade, 3rd grade in the same room. There was no lunchroom. We just all brought our lunches and we would eat them at our little desks and then go run around like wild people out in the schoolyard, and no teachers watching. I mean, back then we could have like gone and robbed a bank and the teachers wouldn't have known. They were all just in there chain smoking in the teacher's lounge, drinking tea, and no one watching us, but we behaved ourselves. I don't know why. Yeah.
That sounds like regrets. I could have robbed the bank at 5 and gotten away with it.
Exactly. I mean, there was a little wall. There was a little wall that we could jump over, and we could have gotten hit by cars. But for some reason, no one really cared back in the 80s, or especially in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it was more of a time frame, more of just not. It's like society wasn't so much of like helicopters, like the helicopter parents, like, oh my God, I have to be right there in case something happens. It's like, no, sometimes you need to learn the lesson, when you jump out of the swing and wind up jumping too far and you wind up breaking your ankle. Okay, maybe next time you shouldn't do that.
Precisely.
It's like, it's not life ending. It's just like, it's something that happens where it's like, yeah, let me tell you this story about this time I misjudged it and I jumped off this way. It's like one comedian said, it's just like these kids these days don't have any cool stories to tell about the stuff we did wrong and had to, learn the hard way about it.
Precisely. And for example, when the parents would say, don't go running past that little line, the reason was you'll fall off a cliff and fall 200 feet.
Exactly.
That's why. So guess what we didn't do? We didn't go past that line because no one wanted to die.
No, it's like my grandparents, when I would go stay with them in Florida, would say, okay, do not go near standing water. 2 things are going to happen. Either an alligator is going to grab you and drag you underwater and we're not going to find your body for 2 days, or a poisonous snake is going to come out of the water and bite you, and then we might find you dead within the next hour.
Exactly.
Okay, do not go near standing water in Florida. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
That sounds like a really bad recess. No one want to have that. Where's Jimmy? We don't know, but he was down by the pond. He was skipping stones, and now he's skipping a
Yeah, he's a gator bait now.
Yeah, alligator snack.
Oh, so first of all, were you born in Ireland?
No, I was not. I was born in America, and because of my dad's job, we moved over there. There's an American company over there. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. It's interesting where I live. It's just like I'll go to the gym and I'm like, why the heck do I hear a British accent? I'll say, so some people that are like executives, it's like they're they're foreign, they're British or they're Irish, and they'll come over here to work for the US based operations.
Yes. So,
exactly. Okay, cool. So the other question, I have to laugh about this. All right. So, and Stephen might actually win with this one. So pizza at school, was it square or round?
I know that it's supposed to be square. Is that a good answer? Because I did come over here for high school, but I really don't recall ever eating the school pizza because I remember it looking really nasty.
Oh, I guess
You know
they
that-
didn't have the good grease. Yeah, ours we had the square pizza, and
square.
because we didn't have to have pizza at home, so it was like, oh yeah, cool, we have pizza. Of course, that was like elementary school, middle school, where we were just happy that they gave us pizza in school. And then by the time it was high school, then it was like, unless it's French bread pizza or the pizza from the pizza joint, why bother?
Exactly. Well, yeah, and it would be really gross. It looked like it was made of rubber, and it usually had like little pieces of sausage on it that just looked horrible.
Not pepperoni, just pieces of sausage.
Oh, I just have very bad memories. I never ever once tried it.
Did the sausage ever look up to you one time right before you take a bite, just wave, going, "Hey, buddy"?
No, like I said, I never
It's
got
not-
that close.
It's not sausage. It's just mystery meat. Why does it have eyes? Our class.
Oh gosh, no.
It's like radioactive slop when they drop it in.
Oh, see, I'll share with you, Teresa. I come from Canada, right? So our thing was kind of different. What we did is we had pizza day or hamburger day. So we would get a form before it would happen. We would take it to parents to fill it out, send us back with the money and how much we wanted and the cost accordingly. When the day arrived, we would just get our burgers or our triangular slices of pizza, real pizza, and just eat it that way. So
Oh, well, there you go.
we had real sausage.
Yeah, another memory that I did have from American high school was just how ridiculously short it was. We would have 25 minutes. That'd be the only break, and we weren't allowed to go outside. We weren't allowed to do anything. We just had to go eat. It was like a freaking prison. It was I hated it. Absolutely hated it.
Steven thinks I'm joking when I would say my school was run like a prison.
Yeah, because I was able to go home. You guys weren't. I could go home, play Super Nintendo, eat, and go back to school.
Not us.
And we weren't even allowed to go. We weren't allowed to see a window. You had to go straight from wherever your class was before lunch. You would go to the cafeteria. If you were lucky to get through the cafeteria line to get food, and then you inhale it, and then you weren't allowed to go anywhere. You had to wait. Then the bell would ring. Then you go back to your next class. You weren't allowed outside again until the school was out.
That sucks.
Yeah.
It sucked big time, especially when
you couldn't rob a bank.
Well, you couldn't rob a bank. And I'd come back from a time, first of all, where school, because I was there long enough to be in what they call secondary school, where we would go from 9 to 4, and we would get 2 breaks, and they'd be like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. And we could go anywhere we basically wanted to. Everyone would go out on the soccer pitch or other places, sit down, have little picnics, if you will, if it wasn't pouring down rain. And so it was very confining. I didn't like it one little bit.
Oh, 'cause I know for us, it was pretty much you had lunch, and if you managed to inhale your lunch fast enough, you might be able to snag a pass to go to the library, but those were few and far between.
Yes.
The kids who were allowed to smoke, they could go outside. I think we were allowed to, but only the little, like, it's like the yard at the prison. Okay, that's that's as far as you were allowed, to go. But hardly anybody really had any time, to do anything. The kids that went out there and smoked, they didn't really eat. They just went out there, and didn't smoke. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat my lunch really, really quick, and then maybe go to the library to go look at either the issue of Vogue that was out, or pick up the book that I had them, put aside for me so that I could get. But yeah, they were, it literally, it was like a prison.
And I actually think it's a disgrace. It's gotten a bit better in some places, but they're wondering why kids are going crazy. It's not natural to do that.
No, some schools, like I know some schools, they've loosened up. Like one of my friend's daughters was telling me, she's like, oh yeah, we get to order lunch or breakfast on an app and it'll be waiting for us. And then the seniors have their level to eat lunch at. And we can actually eat either in the lunchroom or out in like a lounge area in the hall where they have freaking like sofas and chairs and USB plugs. And I'm like, what? And that we can go outside, on the grass if it's, well, they can only go but so far. But I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh well, at least you have a bit more, freedom than we did. Although I'm
Yeah.
still hung up on the fact that they could order their lunch on an app. I'm like,
Yeah.
that helps with time to be able to order your lunch ahead of time and have it waiting and just, pick it up. Wow. I remember we
No.
couldn't do that. It was called wait in line or run to
Yeah.
the cafeteria.
Yeah. Well, of course, we didn't have smartphones at all. We didn't even have the internet.
No, it was maybe that one or two kids. Like I remember we called them like the rich kids, but somehow I always wound up having classes with them. And one guy's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go on the internet tonight. And we're just like, oh, God, shut up. Yeah, I was talking with this person from over and so-and-so and whatever. And then eventually you'll get the geek who's like, yeah, we talked about so-and-so and so. Don't tell us. We don't want to hear it because we're just, we'll jealous.
Be bitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we couldn't Google something. If we wanted to look up something, we either went to a dictionary or to the encyclopedia and you just have to thumb through.
Or the card catalog or what? The directory of periodical. Oh, God. Yeah, this is dating myself. So before Google, that's what you had to do to find articles.
Exactly. Yeah. On that little film thing, you'd have to twist it. Yeah.
God, that was like a mess. So I know I was so happy in college. Yes, again, dating myself. This little thing called Netscape.
Oh, God.
Which was all the rage because it seems like all the nerds in the computer lab have found out about. Like if you were in engineering or whatever, you had you had like a computer account, so you could get in and check stuff and with the lovely green text and all of that stuff. But when Netscape came out and it was a graphical browser, and then you could read articles right there on the screen and link to other articles.
Yes.
I thought that was the best freaking thing since sliced bread.
Yes. Well, and being able to cut and paste when they finally got the equivalent of Microsoft Word made doing essays so much easier and research and footnotes, not having to use a typewriter.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was just like I could just go into the lab. Granted, my parents couldn't afford one. That lovely, I call it the doorstop, the Macintosh, the like.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The gray brick. But my college, of course, they had enough, they had quite an obscene amount in endowments. So they had several computer labs where there was like the mainframe lab, and then they had the Macintosh, lab or whatever. So by the time I got to use one of those and I can just put my headphones on and just zone out and just do I need to look this up? Okay, just go look it up. Oh God. Yeah. Alta Vista. Remember that used to be around, but I would be able to look up information that quickly.
Yeah.
And it made things,
everything.
it totally changed things.
Yeah. The internet became accessible to us in general about my senior year of college. And I was finishing up a degree in history. And I'm like, holy crap, if only I'd have had this for the last 6 years of my life. It was like, oh my gosh, I graduated at the wrong time.
It's just amazing with the wealth of information that was out there. No matter what your discipline, the internet made it so much easier. To locate information, but it also made it a little bit easier to mask if information was true or not, because it wasn't it wasn't peer reviewed or anything like that. So you kind of had two schools of thought. You'd have the people I know like me who was like, okay, let me go and verify this against other sources, and people are like, well, it's on the internet, so it must be true.
Yes, just like anything else. And we eventually learned how to filter the truth from not. It's still a problem, apparently, because have you ever been on Twitter for 5 minutes? It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, see, we didn't have Twitter back then. I'm still a little bit on the fence about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because a great deal of good has come from things like Twitter and being able to communicate with people, whether it be stars in some good situations, like you watch an episode, you really like it, you can tweet at them. It's like, hey, I really like this. You did a great job. And they write back, thanks. Those things are great. And the people that you meet or even if you need to talk to a professor or something, you at them and say, hey, what do you think of this? And sometimes they will get back to you. So it's very many good things that happen, but it also enabled people to be maybe not so nice.
Yeah. Guys,
the one thing I can say about Twitter in general, it is not only the Sith, it is also the Jedi, if you want to come from that. It has a light and a dark side. But there's some days where it'll make you laugh, and some days going, I wish I never turned on my monitor. And it's those kind of days where it's like riding this, it's like sailing the sea. You're going to get those waves, and sometimes they're really good, and then you get the other ones where you're like, I don't know if I should have ever had kids. I wonder why I was a kid and what happened in between.
Yeah. In general, I've over the years figured out that I rarely look through my actual feed. I will check my notifications, and I will check certain key people. And I've found that that's to stay sane.
That's pretty much what I've had to do after, I've been on Twitter for like about 10 years. Because originally when it came out, no one knew what it was. And myself and a couple of work friends were on Twitter because we could say the type of stuff on Twitter that we couldn't say through like Microsoft Messenger at work. So we couldn't say it then there. But to have access, to different, to have access to people, especially for customer service. I've gotten stuff resolved customer service wise like that just by tweeting out, about it, gotten a lot of stuff resolved. But mainly it's like I have maybe one or two lists that I look through. I do not look at my main feed unless, I open up the app and it's there. But I've kind of like done things to kind of purposely insulate myself, because if you go on Twitter unfiltered, it's like you'll get outraged about everything that's going on every single day. It's like, what are we outraged about? Though I will say social media has been a godsend with me with respect to researching history. So what history is your specialties, I would say?
Yeah, I have two areas that I focused on. U.S. history, especially the Civil War. The American Civil War was a huge part of what I studied, and so was the Middle Ages, Renaissance, Reformation era in world history, Western civilization rather.
Oh, okay. Well, I got some for both of those. So I actually have an ancestor during the Reformation who was actually put to death by Queen Mary.
Oh,
he was actually the grandfather of oh gosh, I should know this. Thomas Rogers. And oh my gosh, for those of you who are Mayflower scholars, please don't get upset. I have too many Mayflower ancestors to trace and I get the names mixed up. But Thomas Rogers, he'd actually come over with his son on the Mayflower. His grandfather was put to death by Queen Mary. And he's actually in the book, Fox's Book of Martyrs, which I didn't know about.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that work.
Until I'd heard about him and somebody mentioned that, and I'm like, really? This guy? And they're like, yeah, go and look it up. And I did, and looked in Fox's Book of Martyrs and found all this out. So that kind of made the Reformation, while I know what it is, and it's extremely, extremely important time in history, it becomes more real to me when there's a family tie.
Yes.
To that.
Yeah, I haven't really been able to do a lot of tracing through my ancestors too far because we're people that kind of ended up in Tennessee somewhere, somehow, sometime, and not a lot of written records about it. But I do find all of that era very interesting because I've always seen a link from that to why America eventually evolved into certain principles found in the First Amendment. There's a very, because one can argue, disagree, because coming from Ireland, of course, very strong feelings about the Reformation because it wasn't good to the Irish Catholics at all. Because, each country would choose what the religion was, and then the other one was illegal. And that's why the founder said, no state church.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, freedom of religion, freedom, and then also connected with all of that, freedom of speech, freedom to assembly. And there was other parts of it as well, but I always saw one big connection through it all. And I think that you can truly understand why it is so important to have these, because we look to the past and see what happens when there was not. On the other hand, I don't judge the people, because sometimes people say they were terrible. How could they do that? I'm like, well, if you lived in the 15th century, maybe you would have too, because they didn't have the perspective that we have. They had a certain perspective on what law and order was, and what an ordered society and ordered government was, and what sedition was. But I love it. I love it because you cannot understand the past. I'm sorry, you cannot understand the future if you do not understand the past. And if you do not understand the past, you will repeat the past.
Yeah.
Oh,
May I ask a question
absolutely.
quickly, Teresa, to relate to this?
Sure.
I don't want to enrage you on this, but when the way that some events that came down, let's say over the last year since the whole lockdowns and situation started, you're already laughing because you know where I'm going with this. How did you interpret people trying to tear down statues and try to destroy memorials and spray paint them? How did that affect you when it comes to relating to history? And do you think they have a
it
valid
killed
point?
me. Absolutely killed me, because you can't get that back. It's like, while you're at it, why don't you burn down a museum? Why don't you burn down the Library of Alexandria or whatever? All that stuff. Especially people that didn't even understand what they were destroying.
Yeah.
It killed me. There were reasons behind the statues, and you need to have the reasons. You need to see things that maybe you don't even disagree with, because how can you know? But if you erase it, if you try to pretend it didn't happen, it's very frightening for me, because as historians, we're losing artifacts, and also the meaning behind some of it as well kind of ticked me off as too. But I think it's very dangerous if you try to erase the past because you disagree with it. You have to remember it.
Yeah. When it comes to the history in general, like I'm not very functional when it comes to history and all this stuff. But the way I look at memorials, statues, and other things, they're supposed to be a meaning of symbolism. It's not supposed to be a symbolism of hate. It's supposed to make you think. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, because you want to then wonder why it's making you feel uncomfortable and do the research and rabbit hole deeper into it, because it's a lesson learned, but it's also a lesson there that was never out of eyesight. And as much as you get rid of whatever symbol it is, you're only neglecting the lesson that's supposed to be learned.
And symbols mean things. There is truth behind them.
Your rose is a symbol in general, so that would be right there.
It precisely. Also, of course, it was very upsetting to me personally when they were tearing down some religious statues of saints, which is, as someone with some familiarity with Irish history, when you have a bunch of people tearing down your statues and your symbols, it's like, we've been here before and it didn't end well. It was really a horrible thing to see, because we thought that we had moved past that. And was it Hunipasera? It was, oh gosh, it hurt. And those missions, because I think that they don't realize that what it meant to people, and not just people like me. I happen to be as pasty white as can be.
Same here.
But the majority of people in my church, the Catholic Church, we're talking people that are not white, that they were tearing down people of Mexican heritage, people, and it was like, it was so horrible to see. I can't even really imagine, and it hurt my soul. It really shook me up in my faith in humanity and what America was supposed to be. It was terrible. And I have a grandfather that fought in World War II, fought the Nazis, literal Nazis. And he was there when they liberated Dachau, and was one of the first to see what the Nazis did to those people, the Jews. And the fact that we might be repeating some of it is very close and very hard to my heart.
I
Very
want to
kind of
apologize if I overstepped in my question. I didn't mean to upset you.
Oh well, no, I got a little less lighthearted there.
No, but I'm
I'm
just gonna,
sorry.
I'm gonna add to that, because one of the reasons that I bring up history, again, it's like if you do not pay attention to history, you are doomed to repeat it. Also, history I'll say in the era before the internet, because thank you, the internet seems to be the equalizer with this. History is written by the conquerors.
Yep.
So for me, okay, to see, first of all, we'll talk about the Confederate statue, because I'll bring that up, because I think that's something that some folks should understand. With a lot of these Confederate statues that were erected, some of them, like the one in St. Augustine that I was fighting to not have taken down, they wound up taking it down. That statue was erected by Civil War widows of soldiers from Florida who died away from home. As a matter of fact, one of my distant cousins is actually buried, George Sanchez is actually buried up in Gettysburg. He never made it back home to Florida. They created this, they paid to have this statue put together to honor their war dead. You also had some other Civil War monuments that were erected to remind freed slaves of, guess what? This is where your place is supposed to be. Don't think that because you're free according to the law, that you're free according to what we can do to you. Know your place. So those are two different sides of that. However, to erase that history by pulling those statues down, you erase that conversation. You erase that conversation that said, this is what we did then. And it wasn't right at all. And this is what we've learned from that period in time.
Yep.
So I always tell people, when you get someone who has an extremely negative reaction that's saying we should tear these statues down, make room for the conversation for them to explain why. Is it because, oh, well, we just want to virtue signal and show how good we are? Or is it that comes from a place that reminds me of a time in history where my people were told to stay in their place and know their place? And to have that conversation of understanding that that goes on. Because I tell people the Civil War, there were so many things about the Civil War that were not brought out to light when it happened, because again, it's written by the conquerors. No one said anything that there were actually Black men who were slave owners who fought on the side of the Confederacy. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that you had people in the North who very, very much did not want slavery abolished, because they didn't want that pipeline of raw cotton pipeline that went from the deep South to the factories in New England to get turned into, finished cloth. They got shipped over to Europe. They didn't want that pipeline,
Yeah, they
busted.
were all in bed with each other in many different ways. And the past is incredibly complex. And I agree, everything that you said is absolutely true. And if we don't discuss them, then we will become complacent and we won't understand. And I think we will become lesser people. Whenever I see people trying to shut people down and cancel them because they might have said something that was offensive, and maybe it was offensive, maybe it was horrible, but you know what? We have to have that freedom of speech. We have to be able to discuss, because if we don't discuss it, the only thing that will happen is it will get worse. It'll be like, oh, I'm starting to sound very dramatic, but the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe. I was able to go to Eastern Europe, East Germany rather, right after the wall came down. My parents had been behind the Iron Curtain when it was up, and it was horrifying to see. It was like I stepped back in a time machine to the 1940s. It was dull. It was gray. It was bland. The technology sucked. and there was no beauty anywhere. If they had anything, it was just their little bland rocks showing, yay, linen was great. That's not a world that most people will want to live in.
No.
Mm-mm.
I still have a piece of the Berlin Wall, actually.
Yep, I do too. Mm-hmm.
The Berlin Wall falling down was such a huge deal. As a matter of fact, around one of the areas in Philadelphia, there is actually a BMW dealer called West German BMW. So that should give you an indication of when that BMW dealership was established. And then when Germany reunified, they're like, are they going to change their name? Are they going to change their name? And in a way, I'm glad that they did not change their name. Because when you go by and you're like, West German, aren't they unified now?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, there was a time when they weren't.
And that opens up the discussion thing that Teresa was talking about. Without questions, you can't open conversation. Without conversation, there is no discussion. There is no learning. There is no opening your mind and seeing how things were. And where it goes back to what she was first talking about is learning from history so we don't repeat the mistakes. And what they're trying to do is go down the middle and take it out from both ends. So no one asks questions and they just deal with what's going on now. And it just fades away.
Exactly. And it even delves down into into Spanish history, heartbreak as well, but Spanish history, because you have the people, we're going to tear down Confederate statues. I said, how long is it going to be before you start going after other cultures? So they're tearing down conquistador statues, statues that were, I think one statue, in New Mexico, that was for a Franciscan friar.
Yep.
They wanted to take that down. It's like, it doesn't stop. Once you open up that floodgate and give a signal that it's okay, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, the missions. Some of the missions got burned down. I know in California, and I've been to missions. I've studied them a great deal. They don't whitewash the history there. You go to the missions and it talks about it, but if you burn it down, I mean, it just kills me.
You will never know. Like even in St. Augustine, it's like, okay, you tore down the statue. Are you coming for the church next? And that church has been there since 1565 that church was built. So it's like, are you going to go after and destroy that church, too? Which they're not, because Henry Flagler poured enough money into it. That's why they call it the Franken Church, because it has this like distinctly, Franciscan mission look in the front, because that's the original part. And then they have like these wings that are like, I guess, additions that they put onto it in the clock tower. That's because industrialist Henry Flagler wanted to know what time it was whenever he was in St. Augustine. But that's another thing. It's like, it's not whitewashed. It's, what happened is what happened, but you take all that away and you don't have that conversation. So like, speaking of taking things away with people trying to erase history, I'm going to bring up Star Wars.
I was about to say, that's exactly what I was thinking.
If we're going to go into that, did you guys see what happened today with the article claiming that Rey's force healing, confirmed by Star Wars, got rid of the dark side in Kylo Ren?
You know what? I saw OG post that, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have to go back and read her rant on that.
There's not enough sandwiches in the world for me to sit through that without losing my nuts.
There just isn't, because they're throwing everything at the wall to save this travesty that they, that's Disney Star Wars. They don't want to call it that, but we know it is that. For me, for me, it was episodes 1 through 6. That was it. I read 2 EU novels back in the day, and one was The Courtship of Princess Leia, because daggone it, that's the story that I wanted to read. So I read it. And the other forever. Yes. And the other one was a hardcover copy that somebody let me borrow of Heir to the Empire.
Oh my gosh.
I read those. I didn't have enough time to really read books, because I was just like, life happened. I don't really have much time. But I had a lot of friends that I worked with, at work who were Star Wars fans. And
Yes.
it was regularly, I picked up this novel, I picked up this EU novel. You got to read this, you got to read that. So we knew that lore was out there.
Mm-hmm.
We already knew that. So even when the prequels showed up, we're like, oh, okay, we'll go watch this, because we didn't think there were going to be any movies made after Return of the Jedi.
And part of the reason why we even got those prequels was because of the EU novels, because they realized that there was still hunger for these stories, and they made a lot of money doing it. Those stories were so much fun. I remember when I first saw The Heir to the Empire. This was before the internet, so I didn't know what was coming. I saw it in the store, and I went, OMG. And I bought them, and I read every single one as they came out, basically for about 15, 20 years. And they were perfect sequels to the original trilogy. And when they decanonized it, I was so mad. I even told a friend, I'm going to pretend that just didn't happen, because we're talking 20 years, hundreds of dollars, comics. I would get the comics as they came out, erased, because they were going to do something better. So I go to see The Force Awakens. Yay, we're going to get them all back again. And people that were my heroes since I was a little girl. I remember seeing the original Star Wars in 1977. I was a preschooler. And Luke, Han, and Leia were my heroes from a very young childhood. I can't even remember when I was not into them. And what they did to Han in The Force Awakens, it was horrible. At first, I was thinking, why are they calling her Leia Organa and not Leia Organa Solo? Yeah. And then they realized that they broke up. And he was a loser. Everything about him
made him a deadbeat.
Yeah. Can I just say that there were two breakups that Disney did that I will never forgive them for. One was breaking up Kermit and Miss Piggy.
Oh yeah, idiots.
And the other one, Princess Leia and Han Solo. I was like, what is wrong with you people?
It was like they took a sledgehammer to his character and tore him to bits. They were destroying an icon. He was the smuggler with the heart of gold who went through a huge redemption arc. And it made everything that he did pointless. And then we all know what they did to Luke. They did more than smash him to bits. They made him lick dirt before they did it. They humiliated him. That whole milk scene and everything about it.
Attempted murder. That drew the line for me.
It was disgusting. Well, murder and dirty old man. I was just waiting for him to be a pervert on top of everything. Frankly, that scene with him creeping into Kylo Ren's bedroom had creepy pervert written all over it as well. They destroyed two of our modern American heroes. It would be as though they took, I'm trying to think of what would be an equivalent of a national kind of hero, a fictional hero, and just destroyed them. For what? What did they accomplish by doing that? They accomplished what was true and beautiful. And they did Leia too. A lot of people don't talk always about what they did to Leia because I think they thought they were honoring her. But when in The Last Jedi, when they had her smack, I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, he comes back. He disobeyed an order, and she just smacks him right across the face. And I remember thinking, holy crud, if that was reversed, if it was a man doing that to a woman.
You know what? You just actually jogged my memory about something that I read like years ago. Apparently, in The Empire Strikes Back, there was a scene that was filmed, didn't make it, that Leia wound up slapping Billy D. Williams because he was talking about that. And eventually they wound up not doing it. I mean, it made sense why, considering, he betrayed him and everything, but they wound up cutting that part. So when when she went and did that, I'm just like, I don't. Okay, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that just doesn't seem right. But the whole thing with the last Jedi, and I didn't see the Last Jedi in theaters. Life happened. I didn't get a chance to see it then. I watched it at home on demand. And I kept thinking that it was going to be, like Bobby Ewing was going to wake up in the shower.
Yes.
And it was all a bad dream. I mean, Luke getting the lightsaber, and the first thing he does is toss it over his shoulder. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm like, he's going to go get it back, right? He's going to, because I would have forgiven, and I would have forgiven the writing because there is that trope of the reluctant hero.
Yes.
It's just like, I'm jaded. I don't want to freaking do this anymore. Get off my lawn. And I thought that eventually it would get to the point where it's just like, you know what? Either one, wake up and it's all a freaking dream. Or two, it's like, you know what? I can't let this happen. I can't let this happen.
What bothered me with that is when Rey handed him the lightsaber, because when the first time she held it, she had the vision, all those memories and like little you know what I mean? All went through her head at once, right?
Yep.
So why is it when she handed it to him, he didn't get the same type of thing, and a bond was created if there was something else afoot? They had something there, and they just made it look like, oh, look, my lighter. I already got 6 of them and threw them over. I was just...
Because that's just, it's just like,
I'm a dreamer.
Well, they had
writing, and it doesn't, sorry, Teresa, I mean, it's like it didn't, it's like they had just such a lack of disrespect for that character.
Yeah, well, the reason that they gave for it is that they said that Luke had cut himself off from the Force. That was the whole thing. That was why he hadn't felt a whole bunch of other things. But you're right. It doesn't make sense. But what they were doing is they were slowly but surely destroying an American mythos and deconstructing it, bastardizing it, and then trying to replace it with these characters that not only were these characters shallow, but we were just constantly being told they're better than them. They're better than them. Look how awesome these people are. And there really wasn't anything that showed me they were worthy of any
I don't
of that.
understand how we're supposed to think of Kylo Ren as somehow this great character when he winds up killing his own father. And it's not like he killed his father and it was an accident.
Yeah.
He took him out.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And I'm like, you mean to tell me this is what you do? This is the character you want us supposedly. It just, no. It's just like, again, they have to destroy Han in order to build up, Kylo Ren. And I'm just like, no, to me, that's a slap in the face.
Yeah. And then they wonder why people reacted negatively to it. It's like, yeah, gee whiz, why would we react negatively to you taking everyone that we love, tearing them to pieces, humiliating them, having them die like punks, and then saying that, hey, look, like these people. And as we know now they're trying to say that Rey healed Ben through the Force. And I'm like, well, then what the heck were they doing for the last millennia? All the Jedi had to do was go out and stretch out their hands like, oh, look, Darth Maul. Here, let me give you some Force love. And then Darth Maul suddenly started picking flowers and skipping around.
Yeah, but that's the other thing that comes to it. I'm like, because now they're trying to change what the Force is. So you're saying the good side of the Force is not a virus, but the dark side is. Because if all you have to do is Force heal to cleanse the darkness, then it's pretty much you're getting rid of a plague. That doesn't work on the way it was actually given, because it's a choice to go down the dark side, to give into your anger, to give into your hate.
Yeah.
Will, it totally takes away free will.
Yeah.
All the great dramatic moments. We could rewrite them right now. Anakin's like, you underestimate my power, and he's like, don't try it. I have the high ground, and then he just runs down from the high ground, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and touches Anakin.
Just
with
hugs
the Force,
him.
and Anakin goes,
made whole again. Oh my gosh, this just all is just yet another attempt for them to fix their crappy movies.
Why didn't they do that to the Emperor? just oh my
that'd
gosh,
be
the
a great
Emperor's mad, and
ending scene.
Yoda flies over and heals him, and then the Emperor goes, "I love you, Yoda."
But could you imagine that though, Teresa? All of a sudden, it's that final scene. Palpatine sitting in the chair, all blind and stuff, and he's like, "I have been waiting a long time. Give me a hug." And you see all these other Force ghosts leave Rey and just all start hugging him at once.
Yeah.
You are now clean. You are sanctified.
Oh God! Why am I having
Force bear stare.
flashbacks now?
Yeah.
This force has been clean. The Death Star has been cleaned.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta, cause I gotta ask you, because I know you got more than your share of flack. You, the likes of OG and the likes of Stig, when things started coming about the direction of the Mandalorian. Now, yes. So it's like I told people before. I was like, for me, the Mandalorian, because I didn't even know, I hadn't even freaking heard of the Mandalorian before for this series. I had no idea. So myself looking in, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get to find out who the Mandalorian are, and whatever missing piece of the EU novel that I didn't read, I'm gonna get to see this live. And I'm looking and I'm just watching and I'm just like, okay, where are we going? First season, it's like, okay, all right, some cool stuff. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Second season, I'm like, you people don't know what the heck you're doing. I'm like, what?
Nope.
This shouldn't be an opener. Why is this happening? Why is this going on? Why is this guy wearing a J. Crew sweater that we can pick up? Why is the makeup so bad? Why are you borrowing from other movies instead of creating your own thing? You know, it got to be so bad. Then eventually they start kind of trying to pick it up, but of course by bringing in other characters. Like I didn't know who Bo-Katan was, but I heard stuff about her and that she was from, the EU. And I was like, okay, so now you're trying to fix this and you just don't have faith in this world that you tried to create.
Yeah, well, she was actually from the Clone Wars cartoon. She was not an EU character.
Okay, I didn't watch the Clone Wars cartoon.
It's okay. It's okay.
I
just wanted to say that's not EU. That's not EU.
I'm so glad you corrected me because I could not watch the Clone Wars. I couldn't. I tried.
I had some fondness for the Clone Wars mainly because my niece and nephew were little when it was on, so I saw it through their lenses.
Yeah.
But it has been brought to my attention how lore breaking it was. And I also want to interject here. I didn't get too much at all. That OG and Stig were the ones, they really put their necks out on the line and got the stuff piled up on top of their heads. I didn't get too much. They were the ones who were the champions.
I just didn't really understand that. For myself looking in, I'm just like, okay, if you like watching Mandalorian, okay, fine, but that doesn't make you any better and any worse than from someone who's just like, okay, I'm just sticking, with the EU and I'm happy with that. So I really didn't understand this animosity that was going on with that. It's just like, why is it a problem?
What I was trying to figure out is the same time is that we're all supposed to be in here together because we came together because we didn't like a certain movie. We didn't like the way Disney Star Wars was going, the way it was treating our characters. And then it came to a point where we can't even like anything new if it gave some type of respect or some type of like positive aspect to it. And then they were trying to create sides on that too. That's from my understanding when I was watching. And I was like, you guys are doing exactly what they want you to do. Fight between yourselves because you can't accept it as them liking something and moving on.
Yeah. I tend to not get too much into the conflict part of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just mainly, it was an odd moment. How about, I'll just say that. That's as much as I will say about that whole situation. I think that it was unnecessary. How's that?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. Because honestly, that's how I felt, is that, that it was unnecessary.
Like, who cares if someone likes something or doesn't like it? If someone doesn't like it, that's fine.
I don't like
Get
that
over
comment.
your life. There's no reason to be upset. that people were pointing out the flaws of this show.
Exactly. Because I said, even I was picking, stuff. I was like, I haven't read a whole lot of EU novels, but I'm like, look, the basic level of canon is going to be the movies for me, 1 through 6. So if they can get that stuff straight,
yeah,
they should at least be getting that stuff straight.
Yeah, and they did not. I did like The Mandalorian on a superficial level, season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I can't erase the past. I did like it. Season 2 was just a disaster.
Season 2 was ass.
They cannot pick music. I swear to God, there were some episodes where they had like this triumphant music and they're going to the planet on a sad note. I'm like, who's doing this?
Well, I told you guys who was doing it, which is what blew my mind. I mean, this guy, he did the music for Tenet. He did the music for Black Panther. It's not like he can't do a good score. So again, that lands directly within the responsibility of the showrunner. And that's why with season 2 of The Mandalorian, I wanted to title it Who's Running the Show, because it was just all over the place.
Yeah, I was about ready to say that it is the composer's job for a TV show or a movie to follow the direction of the director or someone who's in charge. Like, hey, this is what I want, and it's your job to give them what they want, not to make editorial decisions.
Exactly.
Because you're right, he's an amazing composer.
Yeah, I have a question though, Teresa.
Sure.
Which character from both Game of Thrones and Star Wars that do you most relate to? And then we're going to go into the third part of this. Who is your favorite Beauty and the Beast character? Just so I cover all my bases.
Okay, well, that's a big tall order. For the Star Wars, gosh darn it, this is a hard one. This is a hard one because I really do like them. To me, it was just the Trinity rather. Han, Luke, and Leia. To me, they were inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
They were family.
I think that might be cheating, but that's what it was. If you want to talk about maybe who I related to, probably Princess Leia, because I was a girl, and I've got no problem with relating to someone you see on the screen. I just don't think that they should change existing characters to be like me. Of course, I like the girl Star Wars princess, and when we were playing it on the playground, I was always Princess Leia, and the boys always wanted to be Han and Luke. It was just the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones, I don't relate to any character on Game of Thrones because they are all horrible. I enjoy it because I think it's a magnificent story.
I love that answer.
But yeah, they're terrible, horrible human beings.
They're all monsters, but hey, the story was good.
I have to say this. It's like, they are horrible. But if there was one character where if I had to say, you know what, I don't agree, but I understand, it would be Lady Olenna from House Tyrell. I understand.
Right.
It's like I don't agree, but I could understand why she did some of the stuff that she did, including getting a really, really horrible death, and while she's dying from being poisoned, just basically tells oh God, I'm like
Jamie
breaking out. Basically tells Jamie, yeah, pretty much I killed your kid.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful, wasn't it? God, you look back, I'm like,
big grin on her face. No, Cersei, it was me. Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, it's so evil. But
I only pushed him down the stairs once. It was my sister who brought it back up, and we pushed the rest of the corpse again now.
It was just such a twisted piece of work and of writing, but it's just one of those characters where no, none of them are freaking redeemable except for maybe Tyrion. But
are the dragons redeemable? That's the question.
Dragons are awesome.
The pets, those are the best ones.
Dragons are awesome. I'm sorry, I'm interrupted with that, but I just had to bring up Lady Olenna because I freaking love her, and she has the best burns in that whole show.
Yeah, for the TV show. Well, and I'm getting to know the books, being on Sporking's book club.
Mm-hmm.
and we're on book 2 right now, and it is a bit of a different experience. So I'm starting to see some of the choices that they made on the TV show that perhaps maybe weren't so good, that George R. R. Martin kind of was weaving a bit of a different tale. So that's a can of worms because we don't think he's going to finish. At least I don't think,
I was so annoyed because I'd gotten the first Game of Thrones book on Audible, which I love, and it's taken me forever to finish it because of just how intricate his writing is and how detailed his writing is. And I was like all excited to buy all in, and I'm just like, you're not going to finish it? Because I'm like, if you're not going to finish it, I'm not going to go read the other books. It's
exactly.
Like, what's the point? But I don't think he's going to finish it. I don't think he has the desire to finish it. So
I use the analogy of the dating where he's not that into you. That if a guy's into you, you know what I mean? He won't, be busy tonight. Too tired to talk and hang out. If George was into these books, he would move heaven and earth to get them finished.
I agree.
He seems to be with these spin-off series, though.
Oh, yeah. He's like, look at everything I'm doing except finishing those books that you all have spent so much money on.
I'm
terrible.
Like, dang it. It's like as soon as I get into that. And
sheer hubris.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But me, I love freaking House Targaryen.
And the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Yes, the Beauty and the Beast question.
Oh, well, that's an easy one. It's Belle. Love Belle. Yeah.
Do you mean Hermione Bell or Disney Bell or the
Disney
actual novel?
Belle? Hermione Bell doesn't count.
No.
And I always liked Belle as she was in the original written version too, because she is really the only fairy tale character that was a scholar, and that she did read books, and she was brilliant, and she wasn't the most popular of the princesses, or rather her sisters. And the fact that she herself had prejudices from the beginning, that she was not looking at things with a clear mind, and that she not only did the beast had to transform, but so did she.
Exactly.
That's a great character.
Exactly.
That is a great character.
My mother loved Beauty and the Beast. I read the novel and kind of forgotten about it. And I liked the Disney version. Did not like the live action version too.
Yeah. The only good part about the live action version was the guy who played the beast when he was transformed was hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, from Downton Abbey. That's
yeah.
Downton Abbey beast any day.
I gotta say, Teresa, just hearing you speak, I'm actually glad that I'm getting to know you a little bit better, because you are very smart, and I've enjoyed listening to you. Thank you for actually sharing part of yourself with this interview.
Oh, why? Thank you.
Sorry, people are not used to compliments from me, so it throws them off.
Yeah. Well, Teresa's awesome.
I just love discussion, and honestly, that this is a great way to meet people on YouTube who have their own stuff, and I enjoy it immensely.
Oh, well, cool. Well, I've enjoyed this too. It's been great fun.
I love storytelling.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. So glad you did, because, like I said, I've seen you on streams, and I'm like,
Stephen,
I need another female guest. Exactly, pretty much. That's pretty much what.
Do you want this cupcake? You better get her.
But folks, please do subscribe to Teresa Miss Martin Muses. Her links are in the description box for her YouTube and her Twitter. Let folks know one more time where they can find you on certain shows.
Oh, well, besides where you can find me on my channels and my Twitter, I am on Sporking's channel on Mondays with the book club. Sometimes I show up on the Geek Blends trivia. I love doing that. Open Airlock Policies channels. We are doing a series on Babylon 5. It's going to be bi-weekly.
Ooh. Ooh, I got to drop into that.
Yes, our first one was this last Tuesday, and then we're planning, I think, in about 2 weeks to do that. And also, we're going to be doing some EU streams coming up as well on Open Airlock.
Nice.
Tell me when you get to the Shadow War. Please make like a Twitter post when you get to the Shadow War.
Okay, I
please.
will.
I love the
It's gonna
Shadow
be
War. I love it.
freaking
I love it
awesome.
so much. That first scene when that pilot's lost in I guess hyperspace. He's floating in the red zone, and he just sees that shadow of the ship, and that right then there, like this is gonna blow my mind.
Yeah, I'm still watching it. I've actually never watched it, so I am in the middle of season 2 right now.
Oh my gosh, it's
You're gonna have a blast.
It's awesome. I got to go dig out my stash because I have Babylon 5 autographs. I need to dig out. Yeah, I've met. I think there's maybe one person in the cast that I haven't met, but it was cool times. I got to go dig out the stuff when I used to be a convention tramp.
Weren't we all?
I'm seeing her falling in love with Delenn. If I'm wrong, am I wrong?
Oh, I love Dylan. Yes, Dylan's awesome, and of course, I'm in love with Sheridan because I love Bruce Boxleitner.
Oh,
He's
God,
so
yeah.
pretty.
He is.
Garibaldi reminds me of like what do you call it? Like Bruce Willis light.
Yeah.
He is such a cool story about him. Rest in peace. I can't believe he's not to be a downer, but I
Michael
can't
Garibaldi.
believe he died so young. But I know when he did a convention in Florida, and I think he was like, yeah, I love Florida. It's like you can't be anywhere else but Florida, going to some dive bar and eating crads with like butter running down your fingers and nobody says a word about it.
Yeah, I love Florida. Yeah, I always hang out in Daytona Beach. So that's where my folks are. So
So
I'd
know
love
exactly what I'm talking about. Tell the crab man to bring the best catch off his boat. Here's some money. Give me the good one.
Exactly. No shame there. No shame.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us. We had Teresa, Miss Martin Muses with us, and my dear, we will definitely have to have you back anytime you want to pop on. Let us know.
Okay, well, anytime, just shoot me a link and I'll be there.
Florida
Awesome.
show. She would have a blast with the Florida show.
Oh, God, yeah.
I've got some Daytona Beach stories.
Do tell.
Oh God, I gotta bring you on. I definitely gotta bring you on. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lunch table. Sincerely thanks Teresa Martin Muses for attending today and not Mason, Fat Steven. Tune in again for another great episode.